the person that inspires people to do things and also clears roadblock for them.
Right.
That's leadership for me.
Hello and welcome to Up Close and Personal at Enmokit Studio, where we're diving deep into leadership and education equity today. I'm your host, Rhea Mendiratta, and I'm delighted to be joined by Mr. Justin Jesudas. Hi, Justin. Welcome.
Hi, Rhea.
I'm just quickly going to introduce you. Justin is a researcher by profession. He has won 18 gold medals in national and international level tournaments in swimming. He's currently working in assistive technology and social innovation spaces for social equity. Justin, it's a pleasure to have you here. I'm going to start by asking you that one question, the gold. What is leadership according to you?
Right, I'd probably put it this way. There are things known and things unknown, and in between lie the doors. And I think a leader has to take the role of a door. For a group of people he or she is leading, I think they should be able to open doors to show the different levels of knowledge that can be acquired. Also, not just that, this should be the person that inspires people to do things and also clears roadblock for them.
Right.
That's leadership.
Okay, thank you. Tell me a little bit more about that in the context of ed leadership. So what I mean is that education equity is a very complex challenge to solve.
Yeah.
What does it mean to be a leader in this specific space?
Yeah, I think especially in education, defining the why is something very critical for the leader, right? Often we want to, teach children, teach them using textbook, teach them using different techniques. Those are the whats. What are you going to do? But there needs to be a strong why to ensure that the team is driven every single day.
Right.
I think that sense of purpose, creating that sense of purpose is a role of a leader.
Right.
That is very important. And also, it's important for the leader to define the who and how as well. Right? Who is the, let's say you have a bus that you want to take from point A to point B. Who boards the bus? Who's the right person for that?
Right.
One, identifying the right person for the journey, and two, placing them in the right seats.
Right.
You put a wrong person in a right seat, it's not going to work.
Okay.
So finding the right person for the right responsibility as well is a role of a leader. Now, once you've nailed the why and the who, then you come up with how, which are the guiding principles or the values that you have. I think if you're able to do all of this, then the team takes care of, the day-to-day strategy and the tactics and what needs to be done.
Right.
So you basically give the freedom to the team and let them know that as long as you satisfy the why and how you do it, take any decision that you want.
Okay.
That, I think, is the role of a leader.
Yeah, that sense of autonomy that people get, I'm sure it'll also push them to ownership.
Yeah. And it's also about letting them make the first mistake and letting them know not to repeat it. I think you should give freedom for people to, draw their own canvas. If they make mistakes, that's fine. You're there to, let them know that they made a mistake, but bounce back. It's also, I believe in a leadership that follows the principle of resilience, right? Fall, there is no problem, but learn to get up. I think that's very important.
That's fantastic. Thank you for sharing that. I'd like to switch gears a little bit and talk about technology. Now, you've said that you are working on deep tech. So I want to ask you, and it can be deep tech or otherwise, but tell me what role technology has to play, of course, with the advent of AI and everything as well, and accelerating, in ensuring education equity with speed, at scale, and sustainably.
I think there is no better tool than technology to scale, as simple as a period, right? I think technology is brilliant when used right. I can give you an example in terms of, people often say, looking like a person like me in the press, media, wherever, that person is wheelchair bound. I'd like to change that narrative. I'm wheelchair enabled. Without a wheelchair, I can't take a single step.
Right.
It's the wheelchair that makes me move from point A to point B. That's technology. Technology in its wonderful form, right? Imagine a person with neck down paralysis. The person can drive all the way from Chennai to Bangalore, all by myself, move around by myself. I think it's all basic, simple, very good technology. The choice of right technology, but the technology at the heart of it is such a wonderful enabler.
Right.
The reason why I quit my 2-decade corporate career is primarily because I believe that technology can up the game to bring in social inclusion and equity.
Right.
It's the same for education as well. We need to educate, we're talking about millions and millions of kids. Now, how do you educate them? Education at one point was private to select few. Now we want to democratize education.
Right.
If you want to democratize education, technology is the best way to go about it.
You're clearly a champion for technology and love the spirit with which you're talking. What are some challenges you anticipate with using technology, all forms of it, to reach where it should reach, where there's a gap because it's not reaching and it's reaching other parts?
Accessibility to technology is the biggest problem, right? I think once you realize what the problem is in terms of accessibility, in terms of having the right platform for people to actually avail the technology, I think that's the biggest problem.
Right.
But I think as we develop, as we keep going as a nation, move forward, a lot of things are going to get solved. Any technology, right, in the initial form, there's a very laid back attitude in terms of adoption to technology. I think once you realize it's appropriate for that particular problem that you want to solve, then naturally a lot of things start falling in place. It's also, that there needs to be a point of inflection for technology. Often, and I can tell you very clearly from an assistive technology standpoint, a lot of people go crazy about exoskeleton.
Okay.
Exoskeleton is something that you can wear and that can help a person with paralysis walk.
Okay.
Now, in its current form, I think it's an absolute nonsense, and I'll tell you why as well. It's not available in India. Okay. It's available in the US and Western Hemisphere, Western Europe, and all of that. It costs about $150,000.
Okay.
Even in that country, it's not affordable.
Right.
So affordability is a big challenge to have the right technology, right? Secondly, in its current form, if they give it for free to me, I'd probably use it once in a year.
Okay.
Why? Because donning and doffing it is a big challenge.
Okay.
By myself, independently. And even after I wear it, a wheelchair is going to be faster than the technology. The technology is not sufficiently advanced.
Right.
So often these are the challenges that we need to think about, whether it's digital technology or deep technology.
Right.
The point of inflection for this would be sufficient advance in materials so that it's light enough for a person to don and doff. Battery technology, solid state, because after I take, let's say, 50 meters or 100 meters and if the battery drains, or 500 meters, I can go without all of that for 5 kilometers. So similarly, even digital technology, whether it complies with 4G, 5G, or whatever, infrastructure that we have, is it accessible to everybody? Will it be accessible only through smartphone? How are we going to access it if that needs to be done? All of these things have to be resolved. But I tell you what, all of these are often issues at that point. And once we move in the future, a lot of things automatically get resolved, and especially with all the startup push and all that's happening, every single youngster is trying to solve a social challenge as we see it, right? A lot of startups that we look at, which we encounter, a lot of people are trying to solve that problem with a social angle as well, not just money making. And I think that's really brilliant.
Yeah. That's a very hopeful image that I have in my head right now. I've heard people talk about it, but when people bring it up as a trend that they're seeing, that's quite an optimistic side. So thanks for sharing that. My next question is about your vision for the future. Now, there's tons of global trends, and the development sector, the equity space is not immune to trends, right? Yeah. Right now, we're seeing a surge in people going towards working in collective action, towards monitoring their programs better, impact evaluation, being more data-driven in their decision-making. So these are some things that we're seeing emerging right now. What are some challenges that you see coming shortly for us in the education space?
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm going to keep this specific for education because it's very important. One, to start with, access to education for all, inclusive education, right? I think that's very important.
Right.
Creating equity in education is very, very important. Not equality, equity. Because we're talking about a lot of kids in the rural area, rural population, and underserved areas, and they need a better platform for them to stand,
Right.
to be neck and shoulder with kids in the urban population. How do we democratize this, and how do we create access for all? I think that's really, really important. Also, the other thing that I feel is this high focus on just curriculum, studies. I think we could do a lot better if we holistically look at this and create a space for children to express them creatively. I think there is a bit of a challenge there, and that needs to slightly change. And also, there is a subtle feeling that somewhere in the back of my head is: are we imparting education that is outdated? Are we preparing children for the future, or with our collective experience from the past, and are we trying to impart that to the kids? Right? With AI kicking in and Chat GPT and other things of the world, a lot of things that we are trying to teach is probably going to be a click away for the child when they go back home. So what are we doing in the classroom really? Right? So that's a question that we have to ask ourselves. How do we prepare our kids for the future so that they're future ready, and not because I went through it in my past and therefore I'm going to teach this to kids? Because when I see my own kids, they are twins, boy and a girl, 5 years old, I often keep asking, because one is not the same as the other. And my daughter is like, sometimes she just picks up and starts writing for hours together. My son is like, he'll not even touch the pencil for a minute. So how do I, kind of bring this equity between both of them, so that finally the objective is to teach what they have to learn, and not necessarily the mode which we choose for them. So I think all of these things could have a rethink, and if we collectively put our heads together, I think there's a better future for all of us.
Yeah, I'm sure there is. But tell me a little bit, and this is my last question. Tell me a little bit about how you think we can be better prepared for tackling this challenge. I know tech, definitely yes. So if you want to elaborate on that, go ahead. But what is something else that we can do? So some of our viewers and listeners can be inspired to embark on that.
I'm, tech definitely yes, but a lot of people are working on it. So I let the experts in ed tech work on it. But in my opinion, I think I'm going to still harp on the same point in terms of inclusion, right? Creating diversity in classrooms so that everybody's perspective is heard. I think that is very, very important. Whether it's in the decision-making process or actually in the classroom, there needs to be diversity. Because in the decision-making boardroom, if there are going to be only men or men and women from elite class, the decisions that are going to be made will be in reflection in the classroom as well, and it's not good enough. Even for AI, something that I keep telling everybody is, it's all about the data set that you feed in, right? If the data set is not good enough, the training data set, there's going to be bias. We saw the recent debacle in some of the AI packages and programs and services from few companies. So I think, how do we break this bias? How do we break this unconscious bias that's there in the edtech space? And I think the only way to go about is create diversity both in the decision-making process and in the imparting process, and have that trickle in the classrooms as well.
Thank you so much, Justin.
My pleasure.
Amazing insights, and I hope that it pushes us to be better prepared for these challenges. And I'm not seeing these as challenges in the future. I think these are challenges for now.
Correct.
So thank you for shedding light on that. We're now going to move into the rapid fire section, and I hope you have fun. This is just going to be me throwing fun questions at you, and you have no time to think. So just answer whatever's on your mind.
These questions did not come to me before, so it's going to be candid.
Yes, they did not come to Justin before. Are you ready?
Yeah.
If you could be a superhero, what would be your superpower?
Well, make the world flatter so that everybody has equal access.
Love it. Thank you. Coffee or tea?
Neither.
Okay.
Water and water.
Morning person or night owl?
I used to be an evening person, but these days wake up at 4 o'clock, so morning person all the way.
Because of the kids?
Not necessarily because of the kids' fitness and everything.
Oh, fantastic.
So, yeah.
What's the most adventurous thing you've ever done?
I scuba dive despite neck down paralysis, and beach surf as well.
100%. If you could master one skill instantly, what would that be?
One skill instantly. Wow. Have the ability to persuade the government authorities to do a lot of things in terms of equality, equity, inclusion.
Love it. Beaches or mountains?
Mountains overlooking beach.
Amazing. My last question is, what is your one message to teachers?
Teachers, give children the safe space and let them know it's okay to fail and help them bounce back.
Love it. Thank you so much. That's lovely. It was amazing having a conversation with you.
Likewise. Thank you for the great questions.
Thanks for being on the show. And that is it for this segment of Up Close and Personal at Invoked Studio. And I'll see you next time.